Chapter 68. Despite her anger, Nicole couldn't help being drawn to the window. Reuben was doing a pretty good job in there. Glick dialed down the audio.
The guy's pitch perfect for Reuben's profile.
But exactly the opposite of Kent's. The captain indicated the door that led into the interrogation room.
So go in there and prove him wrong.
Which him? Glick sighed.
Whichever one needs it.
With a set to her jaw, Nicole inserted the earpiece that Glick offered and entered the interrogation room. If Kent wasn't going to hang around to prove this guy was a copycat, it was up to her. Torres was in the middle of a question when Nicole walked in. Maybe Martin would rather talk about how he feels regarding women in authority. Reuben went to stand up, but she put a firm hand on his shoulder. No, stay put, she said, doing her best dominatrix impersonation. I'm just here to watch. Nicole strode to the back of the room and positioned herself into the perp's blind spot. She and Reuben had danced to this tune before. Usually he leaned up against the wall while she played the good cop, trying to help the perp. But not now, not with a possible serial killer, a killer of women. Tonight, she got to put the pressure on. Over the earpieces, Glick spoke in a somber tone.
Sorry, guys, it's female blood all right, but it doesn't match any of our victims.
Nicole wasn't sure if she felt pleased or upset by the news. It hurt Reuben's case, but supported Kent's arrogant assessment. Glick continued,
We can't count on the evidence to prove he's playing Jane. We're going to need a confession.
By the look on Reuben's face, Nicole knew they had a hard road ahead of them. Torres was as good as anyone in the room, well, as good as anyone except Kent. But getting a serial killer to confess? Unless you had a backbreaking tonnage of evidence, it was hard. Unless the perp was an attention seeker, it was nearly impossible. Nicole sighed. It was absolutely impossible if the guy didn't do it in the first place. Her partner rose to the occasion, though, and made a show of pressing his earpiece tighter against his ear, as if listening to a long discourse. Finally, Torres lowered his hand, shaking his head.
The case is just stacking up against you. You should have cleaned those drains better, Martin.
The perp seemed genuinely unimpressed. You don't have anything or a DA would be here. Good one, Nicole thought, but Reuben turned it right back on the guy.
Who do you think just told me that he'd be seeking the death penalty?
That got the perp's attention. His eyes nervously flickered to the one-way mirror. Then why aren't they in here talking to me? Reuben wagged his finger at Martin.
If they were willing to cut a deal, sure, but how's that going to play in the press? The new DA making a deal with a serial killer?
Torres leaned back in his chair.
I wouldn't wait on them.
Perhaps Reuben went too far because the perp nearly peed his pants. Maybe, I should think about getting a lawyer then. Nicole moved in before he actually requested counsel and invalidated his signed waiver. Need protection? Feeling a little guilty, are we? She hovered behind Martin, just out of sight, yet the man seemed to gain resolve. Her eyes met Reuben's. They were losing him. Soon some high-profile lawyer would take the guy's case just for the headlines. And not only would they never get a confession, but a conviction was equally unlikely. Then a familiar, sultry voice came over her earpiece. It certainly wasn't Glick.
Lean forward,
Kent repeated. Nicole's eyes darted to the mirror. Had she really heard correctly? Had the profiler really come back? By the frown on Reuben's face, he thought so as well.
Do it,
Harbinger encouraged. With a feeling slightly akin to a beer buzz, Nicole leaned in. Close enough she could smell the perp's cheap cologne, but was not quite touching his clammy skin.
Ask him how that feels, the profiler prompted.
She leaned in so that her lips were nearly brushing his earlobe. So, do you like your women close? The perp's respiration rate skyrocketed. He did not answer. Closer, the voice in her ear whispered, as if it were Kent she snuggled up to. Complying, Nicole brought her chest level with the perp's cheek. Or closer, Martin. Flustered, the guy tried to keep his eyes facing straight forward. Like a compass to the north, he kept sneaking peeks at her cleavage.
Let that left breast just leaned against him.
Reuben's head turned sharply toward the window, a movement that was not missed by the perp.
Tell him you found blood mixed with semen.
Nicole did not hesitate. No biggie. We found more blood in the shower drain pipes. You did not. She tisk-tissed before she continued. I was not done. It was mixed with jizz. I can only assume your jizz. Nicole moved from the right side of his face to his left. Did you go and beat off after you killed her?